away we go. So, good morning. Welcome to February's book club. You've had a little bit of extra time, I think, to read this book, which is good. And hopefully everyone's enjoyed it. I know I have. I think it's been probably one of the best marketing books that I've certainly read. You know, a lot of good factual information there. And just talking to Damien earlier, he's already put a few of these things into place on the website, so it'll be good to see what people have picked out of it. So if this is your first attendance, this is what book club's all about. Really, it's just to ensure that continual personal development. We all say that we need to read more books, but often we don't, and we start one and don't finish it. So making, giving us a little bit of a SMART goal to get it done by the end of the month, I think really helps us to sort of focus and make sure it gets done. The other thing is, when you read a book, it's easy then just to put it down, start another one. I just think it's nice to talk about what we've learned, because people will read the same book and talk about it, and you'll go, well, I never read that. So hopefully that group share of knowledge will come out, and hopefully a bit of fun, and building the Action Coach community, which I'm really proud of. And I did have a bit of good news that I can share to you guys. We had our UK conference last week, and I won the Coach of the Year for our area. So
brilliant!
So
Congratulations
to everybody that's supported me, and stuck with it over the year. It's easy just to sort of, give up on it, but all your feedback, when we did the Net Promoter Score, was really valuable in that as well. So thank you for helping me be top of the tree in our area. So really good. And I haven't won it since 2012, I think. So it's been. I said to them, it's come back home where it belongs. Good. So this is our book, and for those that manage to sort of see Marcus's video, you'll appreciate the energy this guy has, and I think picked it up from reading his sort of forward and how much he committed to actually building his first business. Didn't watch TV, just wrote blogs and articles every night. So it really does come across as a very sort of focused and goal-driven individual. But it was interesting. Normally people that write books have done lots of businesses. He's really sort of focused on his pool business, and quite an interesting statistic. His website gets 750,000 hits in a month. For all that work that he's done. So that's pretty impressive for any website, let alone one that just sells pools and spas. And I think if you have listened to him, you'll appreciate he's a good speaker, and he's doing 70 global keynote speaks, probably more than that now, because of he's doing a lot of this on Zoom. Really, I just gelled with him. I just thought he's a very sort of honest type of guy, and says it as it is. Not a lot, no bullshit with what he's talking about it. So it's the first book I've read that's had that many chapters. So normally on Book Club we go through a chapter by chapter. We're probably not going to get 70 chapters done in a day. So I've sort of broken it down into, I think, 3 key areas. I think I put about 3 or 4 key areas. So the first one was from the first part. So part 1, a very different way of looking at business marketing. So from this, it was really sort of the marketer's job. So we're looking here, part 1, chapters 1, pretty much through to sort of 16, something like that. So what did you guys get out from this? So what I think we'll do is we've got quite a few people. I'll pick on a person, and we'll make sure everyone has a contribution. But if there's something specific you want to share that you picked up, then please just unmute yourself and chip in. It's the best way to do this. So so as Dan was the last boy arriving, we'll pick on Dan. So Dan, what did you sort of get from those first few chapters about the marketer's job?
Well, good morning, everybody. I think for me it was the ostrich theory was the thing that stood out the most, about not sticking your head in the sand, and don't be afraid to talk about what the potential problems are with clients and just do things a bit differently.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else? So that was chapter 7, wasn't it? The ostrich.
Yeah.
So anybody else on the ostrich side of things?
Well, I read the CarMax thing.
Yeah.
Maybe because I've got a client in this area, I just realised that, you know, you just see lots of adverts at the moment on exactly that same principle, isn't it? Is to have a car, and if you don't like it, you can hand it back free. You haven't got to deal with a salesperson. The price is the price, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have to say the big 5 threw me a bit. They're facing up to the, I should put a price out there. And the only reason I don't put prices is because of competitors. It's not because we don't want our customers to know. I remember when I started up spending like forever trying to research and trying to find out what going rates were. And it was like virtually impossible because nobody else did it. So I have to say the whole putting the price thing out there is something I may actually face up to. I'm not quite sure if I'd go as far as writing the blog about my 5 best competitors. I think I'd get the head around that one.
I mean that is quite interesting because, you know, you do have to take a completely different perspective of what's going on from this and almost be independent. Think yourself as an independent person, but anybody else sort of, you know, that price and competitors thing?
Yes, very much like Steph. In fact, this highlighted for me just how far behind our website is. And we do know that. And I think Kevin knows that it's something that maybe in the next year we need to start looking at. But we very much, I wouldn't say we have the ostrich mentality, because we're quite happy to talk about all the products and we're happy to answer the questions. But it made me realise, firstly, because we put no costs on our website, that leads to a lot of phone calls. And we've always shied away from not answering the questions, but we have so many different products and so many variations. There's so many different ways of forming an order that it's terrified us to actually even start down that road to put all the information. But I realized reading that we should be doing those big 5. And of course the penny dropped that this is the ideal job for my husband, and he eventually stops running around and retires. He has all the knowledge. He can sit and write all the questions and the answers.
Yeah. Keep him still for more than 5 minutes. So.
Oh well, that's all right. I mean, he falls asleep the moment he gets home. He falls asleep, so he'll be asleep. He'll be still. But I need to harness all that knowledge that's in his brain. And also, our customer services lady, she spends a lot of her day answering the same questions, and that is silly. You know, we should have those answers out there.
Yeah, the cost one is one I'm looking at, but it's difficult because different clients have different requirements. So I've got one client that when you get a job with him, he just wants you to jump so high, and he wants you to do kind of 14-15 hour days to get the job done. Yeah. Obviously he pays a premium for that. So to turn around and say a job costs this is not necessarily quite so easy to do a direct comparison, because I don't want him sitting on there and then thinking, Christ, why am I paying extra? Well, you're paying extra because of this reason and that reason.
I think for that, you're putting price ranges, to me, is fine. You know,
yep.
I always think you've got to think from the customer's point of view. What's the customer trying to get? Do they want the specific, right, I'm going to pay that price, or do they want to know roughly what the ballpark is?
Yeah.
And I think that's is always me. I want to know roughly. I don't mind paying a bit more, or I'd like to pay a bit less, but I want to know whether this is, in my head, what I'm willing to pay is the right amount. So I think, in that case, from, range, this sort of product ranges from such and such to such and such, depending on complexity and speed and things like that. I think we do have to start, really thinking that our customers are not stupid. They will find these things. They're the same as you. When you ever buy anything, you know what the price is, you know what good value is. You do your research, you've got an idea, and it's much better to have been through that, and then you're dealing with a customer that's in your ballpark, rather than somebody that comes in, oh bloody hell, you're far too expensive. Well, that's not a great lead for me.
I like that part of it. Is as much ruling out the people that aren't a good fit for you, because why spend the time on them?
Yeah. We had that with a helicopter hire company, and we used to get loads and loads of leads in from bachelor parties and stag do's saying, oh, we want to hire a helicopter, and then you'd tell it was £15,000. Oh, I got paying that. I thought it was £150 to fly up and down, and so we sort of ended up putting on the website, hire helicopter from £5,500–6,000, and just stopped all of that noise straight away. So these are the marketer's job, and this is the key thing when you we did the marketing workshop yesterday, and I said to people, so what does marketing do? Oh, it's to get the brand out there. No, it's not to get the brand out there. The ultimate aim is for marketers is to get leads, but to do that, you've got to educate the customers. Education and communication is what we do in marketing. So everything we do is to do that. The ostrich we talked about, Carmack's effect, which I just thought was really good, and you're right, we are seeing that more and more now. Take away the risk from people. Especially in today's world, we're too busy. We just we want to just get on and do things, and I think we will pay more for that privilege. You look at a lot of things. People that go to Marks and Spencer's and buy Marks and Spencer's ready-made meals are paying more because they don't have the time to do all the prep and do things. So as long as you're adding value and you're making their life easier, then I think you can charge more for it. And I think that the bottom one there, don't underestimate your customers' willingness to consume content. And I know for me, and this comes, I've always looked at this in disc profiling, that as a natural high C, I will research things to the nth degree and often procrastinate because I don't have enough information before I buy. What is that? Is that the same for everybody? I mean, Steph, you're a little bit more D in your profile. Do you agree with that last statement?
I can be a bit anally retentive if I'm going to buy something. I can be to the extent that actually I'll often go back to the first one that I found, but I almost want to make sure that it is the right one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does anyone else disagree with that? Anybody have sort of?
I think this book was, although it was completely out of my comfort zone initially to read, once I put myself in the consumer's shoes and I know how I approach websites when I'm looking for something, it made so much sense to think like that. And I will, like Steph, I'll often buy the first one I've looked at, but I need to make jolly sure that's what I want before I do.
Yeah, it's the FOMO thing, isn't it? Fear of missing out. Is there something better? So any other sort of points that came out of that sort of first few chapters? I'll come on to the big five in a minute, because I think I've put a slide specifically for that one. But
well, I kind of realised that we were starting to do some of this without actually realising it, with our webinars that we're doing every 3 weeks on different topics. And actually, we've started doing a bit of analysis, because it's really weird, because it depends on what the topic is. We either get clients or we seem to get no clients, and they're all kind of different people from, and we've picked up some really good leads as a result of it. You know, none of them are going to be probably quick conversions, but it's interesting that we've given a lot of knowledge out, and it seems to be a bit of a differentiator. Whether it continues or not, I don't know. I think it's early days to say.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, it's certainly always been part of our strategy, is you have to give the knowledge away. You know, I think this is one of the key lessons in today's world, is knowledge really has not a lot of value now, because if you want to know anything, you just go and Google it. You know, there'll be a video on it, somebody's talked about it. So the actual giving the information, before he's, I mustn't give this information because if competitors know it, or, you know, that's the valuable. No, it's the knowledge, I don't think, is the valuable bit. It's the how to implement the knowledge is the valuable bit. And that's what people are looking for. You can get loads and loads of ideas, but how do I actually apply this stuff?
Yes, and I really agree with that, actually. I think that's a big learn for us over the last 12 months, is that even when we tell people how to do it, they'll get to the end of it, they'll embrace the fact that they know it, and then they'll still go, can you do it for us?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's one other word we haven't mentioned yet, which actually I think is really key to this, and that is trust. The building of the trust and the being open about it. And Steph mentioned earlier about not being comfortable about writing about your competitors. But one thing we have in the horticultural business is there is a tremendous building up of camaraderie, if you like, between us. And we know fairly quickly whether we want to work with somebody, but there's a lot of two-way sales and a lot of expertise passed between us all. So in that sense, we've got a lot of that, but it's certainly not visible. And I think that's something we can look at, and we'd gain more from that rather than appearing to be secretive.
And what one of the big reasons I like this book is it fits in with, you know, the other books that I've read that I really like as well. So if you go back to my sales training, for those that have been on that, you know, I talk about the 4 stages in that: trust, need, help, hurry. And this book just reinforces that. You know, if you answer their questions and you give this information for free, you know, and help people, you're building a massive amount of trust. The need is, well, what's your problem? Well, they're telling you what their problem is. So you've already, you know, built the trust and the need. And then the help comes when, right, well, let's start that conversation, or even here's some information to help you. So by the time you come into the sales process, and I think that's where he talks about the alignment selling, is they're halfway down the sales channel before you even have that first contact, which I just think makes just total sense to me. You know, the more you can do that, the more you can get that one lead coming out of your pipeline, yeah, that is already educated, already knows what they want to buy, and just says, yeah, I want one of those, please, thank you very much, there's your money. So let's look at the big 5 then. Bruce, what's anything on there that jumped out for you in your industry? Or Bruce and Andy, if you can work on this together.
Oh yeah, it all makes sense. So yeah, so we're talking about just open the page here, sort of pricing, the problems, comparisons, reviews, best in class. Yeah, I think it's quite thought-provoking when I read it, really. So yeah, because we don't really have anything about pricing on our website. I guess in terms of problems, yeah, we're starting to add on some case studies, so that brings a little bit of that in there.
The ones we've got so far don't talk about problems though.
Right, yeah.
Don't talk about what goes wrong.
Reviews, perhaps touched a little bit on that. Yeah, we've done a few blogs where we've looked at some technologies and talked about those. Best in class. Yeah, so it's it's definitely given me a lot of inspiration in terms of what we can do. I think where we are at the moment, we're a long way short on this, and it's given me lots of ideas for what we can do. I think pricing, well, that's the first one on the list. I think that's something we can do. We've never really spoken about putting pricing, for instance, on our website. I don't think, have we, Andy? And
certainly not recently.
Yeah, and I think it'd be a good thing. It doesn't, as you said, Kevin. It can just be a ballpark. It doesn't have to, be a calculator that gives you a precise price. But we find often that price can be an issue. But it's all about educating the individuals. But we're on a journey really, and going back many years, we'd often price. We'd leave it to the last minute before raising it, and then unfortunately, might have invested many hours, understanding the problem, working out a solution, then come up with a price, and this is way off what they're prepared to pay. So we just wasted all our time. If we address that, well, now we tend to address it early on in the discussion. So that's when they're actually talking to us. So if we continue on our journey, on our path, and we actually put that on the website and make it clear, for these type of projects, this is the sort of price it will be. Hopefully that will put off the ones where they really can't afford that. But actually there'll be other, hopefully quite a large group where they're perhaps concerned it would be too expensive for them. Actually, I can afford that. Let's talk to them.
I think potentially that can come in with the case studies and things like that, where we start putting prices against the case studies, because project pricing for us is highly subjective to the minutiae of what the customer wants. But we can give some.
You could say, look, we took this from concept to completion, and the investment in that was, $5 grand, 20 grand. When you look at it, you say, well, actually, that's really good value.
It would be if we could do it for 5 to 20 grand. Concept to completion. So
what about you, Chi, with that? Because you're sort of our only retailer on the call here. How do you see this working in the retail side?
Obviously, because we have to put the price up, that one's gone, and I don't think necessarily prices, or I think obviously we're in a world where value is always a proposition. How much will this, how much does it cost? And one of the things that we have a real issue with is around delivery costs. We don't charge a huge amount, but customers get upset if they get charged delivery costs. So it's and we offer free delivery for £50, but we get issues where a customer will check out at 48 quid, and the system charges them the delivery cost. So we have issues around that, and kind of information. I suppose it's maybe we just need to put a widget on the site that says, look, you're £2 away from free delivery. Just put a warning up that you need to add a little bit more to the basket. As I said, we've gone from no online presence this time last year to an online presence today, and I'm just looking at our Google Analytics. In the last 28 days, we've had 30,000 visitors. So the reality is there are people out there, and they're willing to look. And we knew that there was something out there, but we really didn't know how big that market would be. And as I said, people can compare. I'm sure people are looking at other people's sites and they're searching for things that they put in their basket. We probably don't do enough review work, and that's something that some of our competitors are doing. Kind of cooking demonstrations and things like that. And maybe we do need to talk about our competitors. That is how do I rank who's best? We have talked about you know, maybe doing test purchases against our competitors and kind of figuring out, you know, how it's going to work and everything else. So, you know, what reviews we have is more about service rather than the product itself. People seem, we've asked people to give reviews about, as in customer reviews, but I think we need to write reviews as well and kind of understand, you know, kind of what's being bought and sold. We kind of got that data now, you know, we've been trading for a little while online, so we kind of understand what customers are buying. So I guess at some point we do need to work on it. I think what I got from the book was that we have to do it for ourselves. You know, for a long time I've been trying to outsource the development of our website. I realized that we're only going to get anywhere if we do it ourselves, bring it all in-house, hire my own people to get the job done, because it's just, you know, there's just no way that, you know, a third-party marketing company is going to, or website development company, because they're all in marketing at the end of the day, to get your site up and to, you know, to look after it, I suppose.
Yeah, it's that knowledge of your industry, but it's what I've always found with external marketing companies is they'll write stuff, but you have to tell them what to write, and then you have to edit what they've written. Whereas you think by the time you've done that, if you can find, you know, and I do like his point of getting, you know, journalism students, you know, to come in and, you know, embed themselves in the business for a bit and then start writing content. You know, it doesn't have to be that high level, because the majority of blogs and things, you're looking at somewhere between 200 and 400 words. You know, this isn't long stuff. People's attention span, I think, is still quite short, but it's lots of short, punchy stuff. You know, and you know, reviewing. You know, if they just went through for you, you're reviewing products. You know, what's the best thing? Because I know I've found when you shop on Amazon, you know, you're more likely to buy something that has a good description and pictures on it than one that just says here's the product and here's the price.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, again, it's building that trust and understanding of, you know, and it doesn't have to be, say, much more than you probably know already, but it's reinforcing your thoughts on that says, oh yeah, they understand me and I get that, and therefore I'm more likely to buy it.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's you know, it goes down to the kind of detail and, you know, as I said, best in class or what's the best seller, I suppose. You know, we can look at categories like, you know, chili sauce or chili oil. You know, there are products out there that people like, and, you know, it's a recommendation. You know, look, you know, we sell thousands of bottles of one particular one, and we don't sell much of the other ones, although they're all, you know, none of them are given any prominence. We haven't actually done anything around that, and that's, you know, lots of things we can do. It's going to be lots of ideas that, you know, we can get the, you know, the guys and girls in the business to kind of work on writing things, and I'll probably have to hire more people again. It's a never-ending pit hiring people. But it's good though. We're doing things that are different.
I suppose, you know, I mean, you know, Bruce and Andy take on internships, you know, and graduates, and that to me is probably the level this, if you want to do it at a low cost, you know, taking on some journalist interns to actually, you know, hone their copywriting skills. You know, it's amazing how people just love to do it. It's not necessarily you know, they're going to be with you for the next 10 years. You know, if they came in and you know, spent 3 or 6 months, and you churn those people, you know, every time they come, it's going to be fresh.
It's something that we're actually looking to do. Yeah, this year for the first time, we're going to take on a digital marketing intern on a 1-year placement, and our strategy is to just keep that going on a continuous basis. So every year, we have a new one, and so yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, because they're coming out with fresh ideas, and you know, I don't think it's, you know, it's overly complicated that you need loads of years experience to pick it up. You know, you just need fresh ideas and to get the business and be able to talk in the business language. That's probably the hardest bit. So good. Anything else on sort of really up to, where are we, chapter 24? You know, Gary's been rather quiet. I think from you on that sort of part 1, Gary.
Sorry, I'm having internet problems this morning. Yeah, no, I found it very difficult to relate to this. Yeah, one, because we've never really embraced the new technologies. You know, according to senior management, it's a bit difficult. So yeah, I found it hard to relate to the book, and to be honest, I didn't really finish it. There's some really good ideas, especially like you say, listening to Chi. You know, the content management is going to be so important. Like you say, that knowledge, you know, there's no value in the knowledge anymore. It's the implementation.
Yeah.
So I think for us, and like you say, the idea of getting someone in to create that content and move forward is good. But yeah, no, I struggle with this book, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's you know, I think different industries, you know, we'll see. I mean, I think it fits perfectly for retail, you know, that in a B2B sector, it can be a little harder. But I think one of the key things for this is you've got to have that mindset for new customers. You know, if you're not out there trying to find new customers, then this doesn't really fit. And you know, but if you are trying to find, you know, right, next year I want 10 new customers, then you've got to start thinking, like, well, what are they thinking? You know, what would attract them? What questions have they got? And then I think this starts to flow. If you don't have that mindset as an organization and you're just servicing your existing clients or picking new clients up as a result of referrals, etc., then this is all pretty irrelevant. But then marketing as a whole is then pretty irrelevant. So I would go back to your sales strategy, Gary, and you know, say, right, have we got one? You know, what is it? You know, what are our growth plans in the next 12 months? You know, to me, you know, the whole import export thing is, you know, is with us coming out of the EU is, you know, is changing massively. There are so many questions out there that you could be at the forefront of this to pick up on all these questions and helping people to solve the problems. You know, it's a massive change in that industry, but you've got, the company's got to have that mindset to do it. Cool. So let's move on to the part 2 then. So bringing this sort of link with the sales team. So I'm just going to put these out. So none of us have really got a sales team. I mean, you know, I know Andy and Bruce have got a sales sort of director, but if we sort of look at this for, you know, from your own point of view as well, where you are the sort of the sales and marketing, Dan, how does this sort of fit in with, you know, because you're part of a franchise as well, which should be doing the marketing front, and then you pick up the sales. So how did you sort of see this blend from marketing into sales for you?
I think the franchisor is already doing a lot of the content stuff for me. So, you know, lots of stuff on LinkedIn. They'll do blog posts on the website, which, you know, I've got absolutely no control over. So that bit's kind of doesn't really apply to my business. I'm not a fully independent business like a lot of other guys here. So, you know, back in my mind as I was reading it, a lot of this really does apply to the sales process for me.
Yeah.
Picking up on those potential problems and things like that, which to a large extent we're already doing. It's a very defined sales process because we need the customer to feel, you know, 100% confident that we're going to do a great job for them, even though there's never any guarantees that the finance is necessarily going to be available. And that's obviously a potential problem to deal with during the process. So a lot of those key points around problems, you know, trust, and moving that from the marketing process to the sales process, when you're having that initial appointment to chat through the requirements in detail, discuss the next steps, make sure the client is fully aware of what lenders are likely to need and what they're likely to be comfortable with. You know, that's a really key thing, and that's probably the biggest thing I've got out of the book.
Yeah, it's that sort of flow towards, and certainly where I've worked in bigger companies where you've got a marketing team and a sales team, you know, they very rarely do they communicate. They're not working together. And so I just, to me, because I've all, you know, a lot of people say, well, I'm the sales and marketing director. Well, sales and marketing are completely different disciplines, but together they're obviously there to drive sales.
Yeah.
So you need a bit of sort of one pushing the other and helping each other to actually come and sitting down and getting the sales team to actually put down, right, what are the questions you're being asked? You know, what are the 10 reasons why you've lost a sale? You know, that's what we should be talking about. You know, and the marketing company or marketing team almost querying and questioning the sales team for those answers to then say, right, that's what we're going to put into the content. So Steve, you're sort of probably the most marketing-led person here. What was your take on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of goes back to what you're saying right at the beginning. Obviously, it's really good to build that level of trust before you have the first sort of sales meeting, and that will obviously shorten the sales cycle a lot. So I think that's really beneficial. I mean, one thing that we could be doing a lot better, I think, is understanding the clients. So I know we discussed sort of using HubSpot and stuff to see what pages people have been looking at, and so then you've got an understanding of, or they already understand these particular parts of our product because we know that they've looked at the corresponding blog post. So when you go into that meeting, you already know that person much better. So I think there's a lot of potential there, and obviously from our point of view, that's probably something we could be doing better, basically. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it did say, I don't know if other people picked up on that. HubSpot has a way to interrogate your website, and it shows where people are coming in and who's looked at what, and that, does it link back into the CRM system, and it actually gives you their history of how many touches they've had, etc. I think another one is Lead Forensics. So everyone's come across Lead Forensics, has a similar system. I think they're based in Portsmouth, aren't they, Lead Forensics?
Yeah.
I've always struggled a little bit because it works at higher level B2B stuff, and so I think more in America than the UK because of dynamic IPs and stuff that I don't really understand. But you know, in the retail market, you can't find out, you know, Mrs. Smith, you know, what her buying trends have been. But certainly, you know, looking at this technology that can actually really help. And if, you know, you got to look, if it's worth the investment, you know, if it gets you one extra sale or two extra sales at, you know, a few £1,000s, then it's got to, you know, potentially it's got to be worth it.
I do find, because we've got contact forms on our site, but generally speaking, people don't use them. We also have our email address and phone number on the site. So most often people will phone us up or drop us an email, at which point you've lost that link to their behavior on the site. So, you know, it's very limited value to I mean, it's all great in theory, but in practice, when people just phone you, I'm not quite sure what value it brings.
Well, if it's tracked, you know, if it came, let's say they phoned you, and you can have dynamic phone numbers on each page, so you could know actually they've come from this page, from that. But also if they phone up and it links their details and it says, right, this person has looked at 10 pages on your website, you know, then you've generally got an idea of what they're actually looking for. So it's just to help you in that, rather than ask the questions, so how did you find us, what are you looking for? You've already got that information there. So I must admit, I know the systems have some sophistication to do this, and I have seen examples of it, but whether it works in, you know, all areas, I don't know. It's something that you probably need to do some research on and look more into. See if it can work. But yeah, I think what it's really saying is anything that can help in that sales process, you know, should be considered. If it improves your conversion rate by 10%, what value would that be to your business? And therefore, is it worth that extra investment?
I see the value in doing all the stuff for other reasons. It's just the tracking that in practice, when we've tried it before, I mean, we've got hundreds of pages, we can't have hundreds of phone numbers, which means you're reliant on asking people, but basically your tracking is, oh, by the way, could you tell me, did you look at our website and how did you find us and all that kind of stuff.
Have you used HubSpot?
No.
We've had a call about it. For some reason, they found us, or my website manager, he spoke to them. But I think the technology is slightly different nowadays. Obviously, browsers give away a lot of information about you as a person, as well as what you do. So I wouldn't say no. It's as I said, we at the start of my process, Aaron said to me, look, we got to do Google Analytics, and I went, well, okay, but the value is in the kind of information that you get from that. I may not point to a specific person, but you kind of get a gist of where people are going and what they're looking at, and what's important and what's not important. And I think it helps the marketing process. I think internally is how you develop that afterwards and see how it flows back. I know it's very difficult. So I said, we spoke to HubSpot, I said, a couple of months ago, and obviously after kind of listening to what he's saying about it, is kind of, well, actually, look, there is a lot. And also one of the things Aaron said to me was about backlinks, getting other people to kind of link to our site in order to push our ranking up in Google, because you can search for a Chinese supermarket and there'll be hundreds in the country that will turn up. And how do you get yourself up there without having to pay for clicks or put ads up? But the thing is, and to be honest with you, a lot of users kind of bypass those ads. They will avoid those and look at the stuff that Google recommends. So it's a kind of a race, and he talks, Marcus talks about it. It's making yourself seen, I suppose. As I said, it's Google has its way of doing things. I'm not sure if it's really relevant today, because obviously they keep changing their algorithms, but it's making you relevant when someone searches for something online. It's what are they searching for? Because it said with his pool stuff, it's like, what is the cost of a pool and stuff like that. It's crazy what people put in. We thought that people would be putting in Chinese supermarkets on Google. What we found out several months in was that people were actually looking for products. So we spent quite a while putting Google shopping content up, because people were actually literally just looking for a specific brand of a specific product, and that was important to them. So it's you have to be driven by what the customer's looking for.
I think that's the essence of the whole book, is what you think you should be selling, and what the customer's asking for is not necessarily the truth. And if the more data you've got around what they're actually looking for, the more you can move in that direction and pick it up. So the next part, so part 3 then, obviously, is looking more at a larger company with the sort of bringing the culture. And it does have to start at the top. If you guys are not thinking this way, and the people at the top of the tree are not thinking this is what we want to do, then none of this is relevant at all. And that's why I think you've got to have that clear direction of where the business is going to go, what the sales are going to be, what's the split between new business and existing business, and then really think, right, okay, if that's going to come, then we have to get behind this. So it is getting this book out right at the top, and everybody almost in the organization to actually read the book and get it through. So, I mean, Steph, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, you've got a good sized team that can help with this. So,
yeah, I mean, I think we fall into that kind of classic trap, and I can't remember is it Alan? No, there was one you did at the beginning of lockdown where you had a guest ActionCOACH had a guest speaker as well. And he did an exercise, and it was like, sell to me, and everybody talked about, how many years experience you've got in the industry and what you can deliver. And it's the same sort of principle, isn't it? The focus from changing about you to actually what the customer wants. I've put some time in the diary next week. We're going to have a bit of a brainstorm, and we're going to write all our questions. So we're going to, what are all the questions that we get asked over and over again, and just make a list of almost like a bit of a brainstorm, and see what areas we need to write blogs in, and then decide how we're going to kind of chunk those up between us. And I appreciate some people are going to be better at writing than others, but there's the content in there. So maybe if we kind of almost get one person to do and a separate person to review, and then kind of come up with a list of blogs or articles that answer some of these questions.
Yeah.
And also where we bought GoToWebinar for our webinars last year, actually automatically records all of the webinars that we've done, but we get requests afterwards for people to send them the link, but actually why aren't we putting them on the new website? So it's a bit like, I think we just missed a bit of a trick, really.
Yeah, or chop them up, get somebody to chop them up into, because I'm the same, a 2-hour workshop isn't that attractive. I've done the stats on YouTube, and no one really wants to sit and watch a workshop for 2 hours. But the thought is, well, within there is they can just take a 1 minute, 2 minute piece of it, and suddenly there's your content. Break a 2-hour workshop into 20 or so little 1 minute sections. Top and tail it with some narrative. That's going to be the easiest way, I think.
He did seem quite keen on long form content as well, though, didn't he?
Yeah. It's. I think he did say, I can't remember which chapter it was, but he said that there are. Don't be scared of it, but they need to be into the buying process before they'll go into the longer stuff. So it goes back to the breadcrumbs, little breadcrumbs, pull them in, and then gradually build up and say, look, there is the big stuff if you really want to watch it. So, and I'm the same, when I've bought things, I'll watch a little bit, and then, I'm interested in that, learning more, and then you will sit through, a longer video to explain it more. The other thing, I know they said about the content manager and videographer. We were talking about this with a client yesterday, actually, and they've got a lot of technical guys that are out there, and they're all busy. They're not really writers. To ask them to write a blog, they're not going to do this. So we've got the marketing lady on that one to actually interview them. So once the job is done, we're going to come up with 4 or 5 questions that they're going to ask, and she'll just do a phone or a video interview to ask those questions. And we know that they'll be quite happy just explaining what they've done and the benefits of it. And then we can either use that as a video, or we can transcribe it and turn it into blogs, and do it that way. So as long as the guys are really clear of why we're doing this, what benefit it is, I think anybody, if they enjoy their work, will be happy to talk about it. So find ways to actually pull that knowledge out of your team members as well. And you can send, you can do these scripts and send them off to Indonesia and stuff like that, and it's not expensive to get it transcribed. And then just a bit of editing, and off it goes. So Damien, what was your thoughts around creating a culture?
Well, obviously within mine, there's only really 3 of us, so it's relatively easy. I've already bought into it. Keith, I've got him to watch the video. He's like, yeah, I get the point. He's an American guy. I don't really connect with Americans. But so Keith and I are both writing questions at the moment. I struggle with the videographer side of it with what we do, but I kind of, what you just said about case studies, I kind of like that idea, and maybe I can pull a few videos together with that. As engineers, we're not necessarily as graphically focused, shall I say. We like things in black and white. But that isn't always, and we quite often overcomplicate things. So our problem is quite often simplifying things down to make it more palatable on the website.
One thing on the video side, ActionCOACH, we've got our own videographer. So
right.
And he does our client testimonial video. So he'll come out, do an interview of you. You give us a nice sort of glowing reference. But he also, while he's there, he offers a service where he'll do you a 2-3 minute video. I think it's about 250-300 quid.
Right.
And that shoot it, edit it, put all your logos on there, and make it ready. So if anybody wants to use that service, it's the cheapest video you'll ever get done.
Right.
Because he's already in situ as well. So so if anybody would like that, let me know. And he's allowed to travel now. So from February, I think he's allowed to travel. He'll be all socially distanced and stuff like that. So but if you do want a video for yourself, and you're happy to give me a nice little testimonial video, then we can set that up. So
yeah.
So the video content side, what I liked was the fact that he actually says what sort of videos you should be doing. Videos that should impact closing rates. The 80% video, the bios, product services, landing pages. So those are all really good areas. When you're sitting, oh God, what should I do a video of? Any ones of those sort of stood out for people that thought, we definitely need one of those?
I didn't quite connect with what an 80% video was.
Anybody like to comment on that?
Answering 80% of the questions that you get asked, isn't it? So, I mean, I guess it comes back to that idea of just brainstorming all the things that customers ask you, which I did, and in no time at all I was able to write down well over 50 ideas, and I mean, we get really quite a diverse range of projects, but even so, there's probably a reasonable overlap in the questions that we get asked. And I have, before I read the book, I'd kind of written content that did try to address a lot of those questions. But it comes back to that sort of assignment selling thing. I've sort of tried giving people that content, and because there's a fair amount of it, people don't necessarily get through it. I think having it in video form would make it more digestible. So yeah, turning it into an 80% video that answers 80% of the questions seems like a sensible way forward.
I think it's that what have in the past been your main objections. So when people have objected to buying from you, what have they used? For me, it's always been time and money. Those are the big. I don't have time to do coaching. I don't have enough money to do coaching. And so we've got in the past we've had a pamphlet of frequently asked questions, and one of those is I don't have enough time, and it answers it. But I send that out to people, and they don't read it. It sort of sits on their desk. Whereas, I'm thinking a little video that actually says, look, before you even contemplate, taking on a coach, you'll probably have these two questions, and this is what you really need to think about. of how you sort of overcome that, how you justify to yourself that it is value of your time and value of your money. So yeah, that 80% is what are those key killer questions that you get asked, or would sort of people have sort of got that perturbation of whether to buy from you. Any of those for you, Dan? What's, because you're more of a need-based purchase, so you know people need money. So are there any sort of key areas that you would sort of focus on for your videos?
Well, again, it's kind of difficult for me to have any control over that. That there is a video done a few years ago which sort of it's a customer journey video, so from start to finish, the process of putting commercial finance in place, starting with engaging with ourselves right through to drawing down on the finance, for example, which is useful, and it's 2 or 3 minutes long.
Why can't you have your own videos then?
There would be it's tough because it's a franchise business. Obviously, the franchisor's completely in control. So even if I were to do a blog post to go on LinkedIn, for example, that would be vetted by head office to make sure it's on message and in line with the brand and all that sort of thing. So
you could do a video and then have your own YouTube channel. There's nothing stopping you doing that, is there? Doesn't I appreciate they might not put it on the website, but you can have it on your, and then you send people a link to your YouTube video.
Well, I'd have to think about that one, Kev, because it's I don't know, it's just it would be kind of nice to be an independent business owner rather than a franchisee, because it would definitely free me up in a lot of ways. I'm not sure the value of having my own YouTube channel when the point of being a franchisee and paying franchise fees on a monthly basis is that you're getting a lot of support from the franchisor as well. So that's the benefit of it. I don't know, maybe we should have a chat about that offline. So I'm not really sure of the benefits of doing it independently as well as that.
Let's bring that up at next week's coaching, and let's talk about what we could build into that. So that, I mean, I think the video, and if you looked at that and said, right, well, actually, I could bring in a videographer, if you're of a size where it's worthwhile. If not, there are ways around it. Again, you can go to we're quite lucky down here. We've got 3-4 universities on our doorstep. There are always video students that probably want to do a bit of practice. So there's ways we could pick up those people to do this stuff. But even just I was watching one of the guys at our BNI group was doing a Instagram, how to do an Instagram video, a 60 seconds, 90 seconds Instagram video, and the editing suite just on that was actually quite good. So just doing it on your phone, these don't have to be high quality, sing and dancing. They're just, it's almost like sending a little video of you explaining something to somebody that you would do if they spoke to you. But it's leveraging your time, so you're not having to say the same thing over and over again. You just say it once. Right, look, before I meet you, here's a little 2-minute video of me explaining the process. They can watch it in their own time. They get to know, like, and trust you, and that's what I would say, Dan, is the key. Is look, they're buying you. They want you as a service. You've got the franchise behind you. It gives you support, and they have peace of mind, but they're actually buying the relationship with their broker. Same with me. I've got ActionCOACH behind me, but you guys, you know, I'd like to think have bought me, not ActionCOACH. I know Steph has probably bought ActionCOACH, but
definitely. Remember, I got approached by another ActionCOACH.
You have been approached by another ActionCOACH, and you chose wisely. So,
I did.
And then the next section really was taking that into the websites, you know, and saying, right, what were the key things? And again, I like this because it gives you a template of really what should be in the website. So yeah, the first sort of couple of parts, I think, sort of set the scene of, you know, what this sort of content marketing really is all about. And the last half was really about implementing, and that's why I liked it, because it actually gave you some practical steps that you can actually say, right, you know, videos is what we should do, website, these are the areas we should look at. So anything on that was of interest to you on the last part of the websites?
Yeah, I would say the self-selection tools. That's an area that I'm quite big on. I think that's going to be a really key area of marketing. I think that's something a lot of people should look at, and I've seen some really good examples of how that's worked. So that's a particularly good one, I think, that I liked in that section.
So that was allowing me to sort of do that, take myself down the route before I actually speak to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, he had the example of Wix, didn't he, where his daughter sort of set up a website, saw what the actual website was going to look like before even putting in any credit card details. So I think that kind of, obviously that's quite advanced. A lot of companies wouldn't be able to do that, but a lot more basic level, I think there's scope for that for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's sort of, you know, making sure your website takes people on a journey, you know, because I think you did mention in the book that a lot of people get to the website and go, well, certainly if you take people into the homepage, well, where do I go? You know, I've come here with a problem I want to solve, and you need to take me, you know, quite easily. Right? Do I go here? Do I go here? Do I go here? So it's almost sort of think of your website as leading people through. So bring them to a page. Right? Where do I go next? If you leave it up to them to find it, it's really difficult. You know, and they just go, oh, I can't be bothered. You know,
I mean, it's the next level, isn't it? Obviously, having a blog post is good if they can find the right details. Having a video is better, but if they can then put in some information to get some customized content, that's sort of the next level again, isn't it? Sort of answering their question in a more specific way. So, yeah, again, I think that might be something to look at, and that's probably a way a lot of websites are going to be heading, I think.
Yeah, it's got to be more than just a sort of a static thing that is just, you know, us telling you what you do. It's right, come in, what's your question, let me take you towards. Yes, it's almost like when you go into a shop, you know, and the assistant comes up and says, you know, how can I help you? You know, the first thing you say, oh, I'm just browsing, thank you. But once they've browsed a little bit, you then want the assistant to come back and say, look, you know, what are you looking for specifically? And then take them on a journey to where they want to be. You know, it's the same process is going, just in a non-invasive, you know, arm's length way. And the other thing is chat box as well. You know, I think people are getting much more used to chat boxes, but they want to know that they're talking to somebody, not just a bloody robot that doesn't give them the answer. But also, you don't want a chatbot that suddenly pings up on the screen and hides the bit you're looking at. That's really frustrating, that is. So finding that the technology to get that balance is key. So cool. So I found this little sort of infographic. So if you type in they ask you answer and go to images, this comes up as one of the images, and it's on somebody else's website, but I'm sure they won't mind if you want to pinch it. So I thought it was quite a good one-page summary of everything in the book. So Marcus Sheridan message map, pull that out and have that alongside. And it's something, if you don't want to give people the book to read, then get them to look at that. So main takeaway, we'll just quickly whiz round. So main takeaway from the book for you, Damien, what's the action you'll take?
Oh, well, as I said, I'm working on an FAQ kind of page for the website. Yeah. So just trying to build those new inbound leads. So that's kind of where we're at with it.
Good. Bruce?
Well, Andy says he's got a list of 50 questions, so I want to have a chat with Andy, go through these questions and see where to take that.
Answering the questions. Excellent. Good. Sabrina?
Yes, 4 points really. Ensure your prospect is prepared to be prepared. The content, assuming it is honest and transparent, is the greatest sales tool in the world today. And the fact that content never sleeps, because I know how often I look at websites out of hours. And everyone is a teacher and everyone's voice matters. And if I can combine those 4, then that would be good.
Good. Anything to add to your 50 questions, Andy?
I think probably the takeaway for me is to actually have the confidence to invest more time in this. I was interested, actually, following our discussions earlier in this session. I popped open Google Analytics and been just keeping one eye on the behaviour of people actively on our website right now, and they're all reading blog content. So it's
where it is. Yeah,
it illustrates that it works.
Yeah. Cool. Good. Steve?
Yeah, again, just the importance of sort of having good content, answering people's questions. I think in terms of sort of practical, how I'm going to implement it, sort of the first thing will be to brainstorm, sort of, again, go back to 80%, sort of what are the main questions, and then start putting that into a content calendar and start putting that content out. Just sort of reinforced, I knew this is important anyway, but sort of reinforced it, reminded me, and sort of a bit of a kick up the bum really to be a bit more consistent with it.
It's, I don't think there's anything sort of earth-shattering new with this. It just put those sort of thoughts that were banging around my head into a nice, concise way, and then reinforce, this is the way it needs to go. So cool. Gary? Oh, he's gone. Dan?
I think notwithstanding what we just discussed, I completely buy into what the book's saying, but I'm probably just a touch confused as to how I can fully implement this, given the restrictions I've got. That said, we put some time in next week for a brainstorm, the 3 of us. But what I do with that information and how I apply that is a bit tricky, a bit of a tricky one to get my head around.
I mean, the key is send the book to head office and say, look, guys, I think we should be following these principles. And you've got enough of you guys around to get loads and loads of content out there. And say you've got to be buying from the top. So it works both ways, top down and bottom up. So, Steph?
I think 2 things, that the price one was a bit of a reality check, I guess. Again, for us, all the reasons I said before, not hiding it from customers, but actually from competitors. And I don't know why, actually. I guess it's just being having the gumption to go out there and go, that's it, that's us. And I think a lot of this we just don't do on our website. And why does it not reflect what we do in practice? Because we do lots of content, we give lots of stuff away in terms of knowledge and other bits and pieces. I just don't know that our website reflects us. So
good. G?
It's just I suppose I put up the website. I finally got around to doing it, but there's a whole load of subjects around the kind of the additional content, the non-selling stuff. Being that authority, I suppose it's I suppose that's one of the things that he talks about. Who is the authority? Who is the leader in your market? And the reality is, I was driving when obviously the audiobook, and it kind of dawned on me that there may be companies that I look up to within my sector, but the reality is, looking at their website, actually they don't have the content outside of just the products. You need to produce that, and it's like river pools and spas. At the end of the day, there were nobody, and they are, they've made a name for themselves through pushing out additional content, and that's what we need to work on next, is the additional content. It's not just the products, it's the content that goes along with it.
And if you think about, with the internet world, the cost of entry into the market is actually quite low for all of us. The cost of actually starting up an HR business, or a web business, or a finance business, anyone with a laptop can start it. But if you've got years and years and years of content out there, you can't catch that up. There's no way you can catch that up. You can't just suddenly create that amount of knowledge that is associated with that site. So, I think we've got to start realizing our websites are one of our most important assets, and build them accordingly. They're not just a sort of a landing page, here we are, this is where your knowledge bank is. And if you think about the business lasting beyond you, what are you going to leave behind? Will we have bricks and mortar in 20 years time? No, we'll have a group of people, and your website. So, I think, there's a little bit of a change. That mindset is this is your Wikipedia, this is your legacy that you leave behind. So Philip was really good, compelling stuff that will last forever. He's saying that some of his posts 7 years ago are still the highest, fee earner for him. Good knowledge never goes out of date.
Yeah, it's a bit like what Sabrina was saying, that it never sleeps. Yeah. Once you put it up there, it's, you invest an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, but then it's forever there.
Yeah. Cool. Good. Well, thanks everybody. So appreciate your participation, and so it's good that you've got a lot out of the book. So we're going to go slightly back into the finance world and the numbers side. So John Durr, Measure What Matters. So this guy, he claims, I haven't read the book yet, so I'm going to come on that, Bill Gates, Google built their entire operation on this principle of OKRs. So, I'm really hot on what gets measured gets results. Break things down, measure them, improve them, put them back together again. So I'm looking forward to reading this one and reviewing it with you at the end of the month, on the 26th. The upcoming workshops, next workshop is finance on the 11th. Is it the 11th? No. Yes, 11th. No, it can't be 11th. Yes, it is the 11th. Yeah, it's fourth next week. God, I've lost track of time. Yeah, the 11th of Feb will be the finance mastery. So if you want to sort of come back, think about your P&L, balance sheets, budgets, cash flows, any questions around that, then please do book yourself onto that workshop. Otherwise, I will leave you to enjoy your Fridays. Have a good time. Have a lovely weekend. And in the cold and. Is it going to be dry? Sunshine. It's going to be 22 degrees here, guys. It's going to be hell. So I know I'm going to cope. And have a lovely time. And I'll see you hopefully when I see you next week, and sort of in the next week or so. Take care.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Bye.
Bye.